Hey guys, welcome to another GameXplain discussion. I'm your host, Andre Seegers, and this time we're joined by Derek Binner and RogersBase to discuss our expectations and predictions for the 2017 Game Awards. So let's get started. Alright guys, the Game Awards are almost here, like tomorrow at this point, so I figured it'd be fun to get together and discuss our expectations and predictions for the event in general, and more specifically, what we expect from Nintendo. Because almost every year they show up to reveal 1 to 2 or even 3 things. Like how many times have we seen Zelda Wii U or Breath of the Wild at this point at the Game Awards? But before we get to our predictions, I also wanted to touch on the overall Game of the Year award, because I think it might play a part in this as well. So my question to you guys is there any chance Zelda Breath of the Wild doesn't take this?
Well, I want it to. Yeah, I want it to, but I feel like because a lot of people are voting on this online, I think the Nintendo vote could split between Mario and Zelda, and we could see something like PUBG actually win it. Because PUBG has a disgustingly huge fan base. It's like the #1 most streamed game on Twitch, and even though it actually technically shouldn't even be up there right now because the game is still in beta, I could see that coming through and winning this sort of like as a dark horse. But I think if we're going to put the two together, Andre, I know you're Team Odyssey, but I got to go with Breath of the Wild.
Is it weighted that heavily toward the fan vote?
I'm not really sure.
Yeah,
I've never really looked into it because I've never voted myself about which way it's going to go. So I'm a little unsure. I do think of these 5, Horizon Zero Dawn has no chance. It probably has the least amount of chance. It's a good game, but it has no chance to actually win this. Persona 5 I also see as a kind of dark horse, but I don't think it still has sort of had that cult status.
Yeah.
That's not quite going to get there. And really, we're left with a 3-way race because, as you said, Roger, I don't even know how you said the acronym. PUBG.
PUBG, yeah.
Yeah, PUBG. Is very popular. I've never played it myself, but people talk about it all the time. I do agree with you though, Roger. I think Breath of the Wild is probably going to take it. It's just been in people's minds ever since the beginning. It's still coming out. There's, we have the DLC coming this year eventually. Who knows? And I do think I can see Breath of the Wild just taking it this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think Roger brought up an interesting point where I guess it depends on how it's weighted with a fan reaction, although I guess it could apply to the critics too, but I think to a much lesser degree. But we do have 2 very strong Nintendo contenders this year, and that could split the vote for Nintendo, which wouldn't be good for them, but...
Yeah, I think Jeremy Parrish could vote for Breath of the Wild because he said that Mario for Wii U is a better game than Mario Odyssey. So I can see that happening.
Oh my god. Yeah, I love Jeremy, but I didn't quite see eye on a list. Anyway, so we got that out of the way. We think Zelda's probably going to win until some weird split vote happens, in which case PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds may take it. We'll see. What do we think is going to happen, though, in terms of reveals and announcements, specifically from Nintendo? Roger, as soon as I mentioned that I was wanting to do this discussion, you hit me up. You're like, dude, I got to be on this. So yeah. I want to hear what your expectations are for this. In general.
My expectations are 100% we're getting a Nintendo announcement. I think there's no doubt in my mind. Again, like you mentioned, like the history is there, even dating back to like the VGAs before like the Game Awards were officially a thing.
Right,
that was where like Cranky Kong was first revealed for Tropical Freeze. We got that big Mario Maker trailer at one of them. Also, last year there was a huge Breath of the Wild trailer that people are forgetting that was first revealed there, where they even like brought Reggie up on stage. So I have a feeling we'll probably get the trailer for Zelda DLC at the very least, but I could see multiple Switch games getting announced for this, even if they aren't first-party Switch games, because they already mentioned there's going to be like, 13 reveals during the show, and I have a feeling that more than one of those 13 games, excluding the Nintendo stuff, is going to be for Switch too.
I think that's the fun part about this year, at least for Nintendo fans, is that a lot of these announcements outside of Nintendo have a very good chance of showing up on a Nintendo machine, which kind of makes it a little bit more exciting to see some of these reveals. So it's like, is it going to be on Switch? Is it going to be on Switch? But I totally agree with you, Roger. There is no way that Nintendo is not going to mention the Zelda DLC. They're still claiming it's coming out by the end of this year. We are running out of days. I think we have 25 days left before the end of this year. Pretty sure they want it out before Christmas. We're getting an announcement of a release date. Who knows when it's actually coming? I could see it being this end of this week. I could see it being sometime next week. Who knows what they'll do?
Yeah, I could see them even saying night of. I mean, I could honestly see them dropping it, yeah.
I totally agree with that, Roger. I could totally see that happening. I've been thinking about that for the past couple weeks, because we are getting, like, they're really running down the clock here in terms of when they can release this. And if you want to make a big splash, you have it come out shortly after the announcement of it at the at the VGA or at the at the Game Awards. Man,
the Game Awards.
Talking about VGA totally screwed me up. Yeah, at the Game Awards. And I think didn't they do something like that pretty recently too? There was some other event where they showed off something and it's like, oh, it's out now. I can't remember what it was. Anyways, this is super exciting because we know almost nothing about the Champions Ballad at this point. Like, we know almost nothing about it besides it being story-based content. Well, here's a question. Do you think they'll show it off before or after the Game of the Year announcement?
I think it'd be, like, really early in the show, probably.
You think so?
Because that's when the Breath of the Wild trailer last year was. I think it wasn't even an hour into the show.
I mean, let's go off your idea, Roger, that let's say they do announce, they do show off the Champions Ballad, and like, okay, it's going to be available. What if it's right now and it's like, oh, well, screw the Game Awards, I'm going to go play Zelda.
I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah, especially because, I mean, I think another point in his favor this time, coming perhaps right after or right around that same time of the Game of the Year award, is simply because Zelda's in the running for it, and since I think Zelda's very likely to win, it would be amazing if they had that 1-2 punch. It's like, hey, not only does Zelda win, there's more Zelda for you to play right freaking now. Go download it, and you can keep playing the Game of the Year at this very moment.
No, I completely agree. It makes a lot of sense to them to have it like a 1-2 punch like that. It might seem a little staged, but I can almost see them like, hey, guys, you won. By the way, when do you want to have it slotted in to make the most out of this?
I was just going to say, a lot of these award shows do already know who's going to win. Like, they'll tell them beforehand so then they could prep to make an announcement. And I could see the Game Awards doing that, but at the same time, Jeff Keighley's been really active about this year's award show, sort of like having more of like, not a professional atmosphere, but like, I know he decided not to do the Schick Hydro bot again, and like he turned down the Doritos Pope thing. So I think he wants to make it like a more well-renowned, much more respected show, and I think by telling them beforehand might be a little weird. But we'll see. I don't know. What were you going to say, Derek? Sorry, I feel like I'm cutting everybody off because of the weird like audio cuts.
No, that's all right. I know. I basically finished my thought. It just makes sense for it'd probably be around there sometime. It'd be a little weird if they announced it early on, and let's say it is coming out that night. Have everybody be like, okay, after the show, you can download this this DLC and be able to play it right away. And I don't know how long the Game Awards is. I think it's like a 2 to 3 hour show. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of like, come on, get this over with so we can start playing Zelda.
I already get antsy just watching it in general anyway. So I'm not a big fan of award shows in general. But I mean, the fact that they treat it as like an E3 is what draws people to it, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's a kind of a weird mix.
It's been getting better though. I feel like even with this year, like they're bringing a live orchestra to like play the music of the winners, and they're doing a lot of stuff that makes it feel more like an award show. Where I feel like 4 years ago it was more like just a giant commercial for whatever games were coming out next year. This is actually a good mix, I feel, of like announcing the winners of the year and like going over the best stuff that came out this year, but also at the same time like showing off new trailers in a way that doesn't feel like a commercial. I'm just like, I'm stoked.
Yeah, it's definitely gotten better since the Spike Game Awards, I believe. Like that's when that's when the marketing was hyped up to the max. So yeah. So to back up a little bit here, as I touched on earlier, Nintendo's historically had between 1 to 3 segments for each Game Awards. 1 year it was both Mario Maker and Zelda, another year it was a Zelda trailer, and then another segment of the Zelda Let's Play, basically. So with that in mind, it got me back to thinking of what could be another segment if they had one beyond the Zelda DLC. Especially because all of their past segments were for games coming out either in the next year or the years after, in the case of Zelda Wii U, which came out like 3 years after it was first shown at the Game Awards. So with that in mind, you would think they'd want to show off something from 2018 in order to get us, hyped up for what's coming down the line for the Switch. Especially because it's something we haven't seen too much of. Yeah, we know there's Kirby and Yoshi, which we've both seen at E3, but beyond that, we haven't seen much else. So it got me thinking, man, wouldn't this be a perfect time for a teaser of some kind of other game? Like maybe, what if we got a Metroid Prime 4 teaser? Like what if we got like just a small snippet or something?
Oh, I mean, even back in the day when they first announced the Cranky and Tropical Freeze, and you could see Keighley being like, okay, but he's like, what about Metroid, What about Metroid? Like, you could just feel him dying to have Metroid on the show. So if I'm sure I can see him like begging Nintendo, like, got anything to show about Metroid Prime 4? Please, please.
Especially because wasn't Reggie wearing a pin that year when he announced
He was. And a lot of people got really mad because they saw Reggie wearing that pin and then thinking like, oh my god, it's Retro's game. Like, maybe they're also working on a Metroid Prime game. We know they had a hiring rush. And then no, they just showed Cranky Kong in Donkey Kong Country. But like, To me, I feel like, I'm 50-50 on this one, because the big rumor right now is that the team developing Metroid Prime 4 is actually a new team put together by Sakamoto and a team over at Namco Bandai.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that later this month there is a big Namco event in Paris where they're going to be showing off 5 new unannounced games. And at the same time that week, Jump Festa is going on in Japan. And as many of you guys know, Bandai Namco develop a lot of the anime games. They already announced My Hero Academia One's Justice, which is coming to PS4 and Switch. They just leaked One Piece World Seeker, which is coming to PS4. So people are thinking maybe those 2 games are part of that. But there are 3 other games at least that are probably going to come to Switch that we don't know anything about. And one of those games that's really heavily rumored beyond the Metroid Prime 4 stuff is the Dark Souls collection for Switch. Ooh. Where even From Software, all the way back dating to the initial reveal of the Switch, was shown up on the screen and we've seen nothing from them. Mm-hmm. That seems like the perfect announcement for the Game Awards. I feel like it's something that isn't a huge, gangbuster reveal announcement, but at the same time could really hype people up. And I feel like a lot of the people who watch the Game Awards are also sort of the demographic for Dark Souls. So I do feel like a Dark Souls collection for Switch or a Dark Souls remaster or something like that could be announced at the show.
Or just a Dark Souls collection in general, with it also being on the Switch.
Exactly.
That would do pretty well. I like that idea.
Yeah.
From Nintendo themselves, I agree. I think Metroid Prime 4 is a huge candidate here. I think another candidate, especially going back to their as much as I love Codename Steam, it was very weird to see them try to push that game during the Game Awards or the VG. It was the Game Awards, the first Game Awards.
Yeah.
Very weird to see them push that, but we are supposed to get a new Fire Emblem game on the Switch, like an actual, traditional Fire Emblem game. Might not be a bad way to premiere that.
And considering the fact that Fire Emblem is nominated in 2 categories, they have Fire Emblem Heroes for mobile game, and I think Fire Emblem Echoes for best handheld, I could easily, and see, that's the thing, is I could slot in, I'm imagining just like what you guys were talking about, if Nintendo already knows who's going to win, or these companies already know,
right.
I could see Echoes or Metroid winning best handheld, and then immediately after, they either show off a Prime 4 trailer or a Fire Emblem Switch trailer, and then at the same time, after Heroes, because everyone thinks Heroes is the front runner to win best mobile game, I could see them showing off the Fire Emblem trailer then too. And again, Fire Emblem seems like the right type of announcement for this. I feel like things like Yoshi and Kirby would not play well at the Game Awards. I think they learned their lesson after the Donkey Kong Country thing. Whereas Fire Emblem, that demographic, I feel like is going to be spoken to during the show. And I could definitely see them showing off maybe a teaser of that and then saying, expect more information in January. So,
yeah. I totally agree with that. Yoshi and Kirby are pleasant games, but they're not going to excite the demographic, I think, that's watching the Game Awards primarily. I think that it does cater to a slightly older, I hesitate to use the word mature, but, more mature-looking games. I mean, even Zelda Breath of the Wild fits right in with them. Mario's kind of the one that stands out among the Game of the Year candidates here as being the odd one out, I would say, just in terms of, overall visual style.
I mean, just in general, from the stuff we've already know that we are getting trailers for, presentations for, Fortnite, Metro Exodus, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, Sea of Thieves, all of those sort of fit that sort of slightly older demographic that's not catering to kids like Kirby and Yoshi does.
Right.
And 100%, I will go on record saying this, I will donate all my donation money from my last stream directly to Kojima-san if I am wrong. We are 100% going to see Death Stranding here. Because Guillermo del Toro is doing a presentation, Kojima is doing a presentation, and Jeff Keighley is buddy-buddy with Kojima-san. So I think, Death Stranding is another big announcement that they haven't said yet, but they might as well have just outright said it.
And Norman Reedus is going to be there.
And Norman Reedus is going to be there, right. So that's that's a done deal.
We're going to see Death Stranding every year at the Game Awards until it's released in 2030. So
yeah, right.
Oh, goodness.
So Metroid Prime 4 would be amazing, and I think that probably has the highest chance of they're teasing a future title we don't really know or haven't seen anything of. I think that probably has the highest chance. With that said, I don't think it's going to happen. I would love if it does. I think there's a small chance it could, but I'm not sticking a hope on that. But what do you think are the odds that we possibly might see a tease of Smash Brothers here? Do you think that could happen?
Oh, 0% chance.
Yeah, I can't see it. I mean, it'd be awesome. It would get people hyped. People would go nuts. I don't know. I don't see it happening here. I think Nintendo would have a little bit more control about that when they really show it off, because if you look like even at just Breath of the Wild type stuff, they don't really premiere stuff there. It's just, here's something we announced and here's a little bit more information about that.
Yeah, which is why I think Fire Emblem actually has a much better chance than even Metroid Prime 4. Because like I said, it's up for a bunch of categories, and at the same time, they announced that a long time ago. And Fire Emblem traditionally comes out around like the February, March, April timeframe. And so I could easily see them like showing off a lot of the Switch one, not having to focus as much on it during the January Direct, and then potentially releasing it sometime in like the spring of next year.
That'd be cool. That'd be nice. Yeah, that'd be a good surprise.
Yeah.
All right. So, are there any other announcements you might possibly expect from Nintendo here, or do you think we covered it all so far?
So I got one other one.
Okay, I want to hear it.
Because we have not heard anything from this developer this entire year, despite them telling us in 2016 that we were going to hear something about their game in 2017. It's a Western developer. It's something that I could see them revealing at the Game Awards if they're not working on something like Metroid or it's a new IP. This could, and I don't want to hype people up too much, but I think like this could be the reveal of whatever Retro's working on. I think like the Retro Studios reveal could happen here, because traditionally Retro's games, like if you look back at the Donkey Kong Country stuff, have been shown off at these Game Awards. And again, they're a Western developer. They're not someone, like Monolith Soft or even like Intelligent Systems. I think there's a much greater chance of Jeff Keighley maybe like pulling in a Retro announcement than something that's, happening over in Japan.
Oh, wow. That'd be something. That kind of goes against what Derek was just talking about with them not usually making full reveals here, because we know nothing about Retro's project.
Exactly.
So
yeah. But I could see them like teasing it. I mean, I could see even like a teaser trailer of Retro's game, and then again them saying like the full reveal will be in January during our direct. Maybe not just outright saying they're going to do a direct in January, but like everybody knows.
But more info coming soon.
Exactly.
Weren't we just talking about this? How people are going to be disappointed by seeing just more Donkey Kong at the Game Awards?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be totally up for a
I would be too.
You think Retro's next game is a Donkey Kong?
No.
I don't either. Yeah.
I think it's possible, but I don't think that's going to happen. No, I think it is probably something, either new or like some returning IP that we haven't seen in a while or something. Yeah. So I just want to know what it is. What is it? So that'd be an amazing teaser. Like show us that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be down for that. I want to know what Retro's working on so much.
So do I.
Yeah. So I'm curious, like not to cut you off, but I thought of one of the developer too. What has Platinum been up to recently?
That's a good one.
The last thing they worked on, I believe, was Nier Automata, wasn't it?
Okay.
Especially now that Scalebound is done.
Was there a Nier trailer or a Scalebound trailer at the last Game Awards?
I don't know if there was a Scalebound trailer. I don't know how much Microsoft was pushing that. Yeah. But what are you thinking? Are you thinking potential Bayonetta or?
Because I feel like that's something that's sort of like a mid-tier announcement that obviously like the hardcore people are going to freak out about, but that maybe isn't something I could necessarily see Nintendo devoting tons and tons of time to in like a direct. Maybe like a Bayonetta 1 and 2 collection or something, or because even Platinum was teasing that really early this year with the Wonderful 101 picture and the Bayonetta pictures. So that seems like a mid-tier kind of announcement that I could see them drop at this too. Again, I don't think like I know I just brought up the Retro thing and like we were talking about Metroid Prime, but I think something along the lines of like a Bayonetta port or like Fire Emblem footage is more what we should be expecting beyond just like Zelda DLC, as opposed to something like an entirely new game or something that's a huge reveal like Metroid.
Mm-hmm. And Bayonetta 2 makes a lot of sense to get on the Switch, especially since I don't know how well it's sold on the Wii U, but the fact that they can do some port stuff to it, there's not really much that it did with the gamepad, so just get it onto the Switch, and it has a much bigger audience that can maybe enjoy the game.
Yeah.
All right, so where's your guys' overall excitement level at for this right now, for the Game Awards in general, and the reveals? Like, all of it. Where are you at?
I'd say 6.
Wow.
My hype isn't too much, because I don't expect a ton of this stuff to happen. I mean, some of the announcements could be pretty cool. Death Stranding is going to be weird and wacky, so that's always going to be fun. But otherwise, I'm actually kind of interested in who's going to take some of these awards, because it's just been such a good year. But as far as the announcements, I don't have too many high expectations. Like, if I'm being completely honest, I think Nintendo's only going to show Zelda.
I mean, that's the only thing I know for sure. I think we could see. I mean, I think we're getting Zelda for sure. And then I think there could be one other thing in there. I'd actually be surprised if there's not something else, because like for the last few years, again, ignoring 2015, they've had more than just one segment. Granted, in 2016 it was both based on the same game, but I do think we'll have something different here. I don't know if the DLC is quite enough, but it depends what the DLC is. We don't even know what it is, so...
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is ever since the Game Awards has been a thing, they've been promoting the Breath of the Wild in some way.
Yeah, it's true. They'll just keep promoting it forever. So I would actually say I'm a 6 as well. How about you, Roger?
I'd say I'm like a 7.8. Too much cranky is where I'm at right now, because I think just knowing that we're probably going to get Zelda DLC and also not Stranger Things. Why did I say Stranger Things? Death Stranding. Those two alone are getting me hype, and I'll be there in person. I'm going to be going this year, and I'm looking forward to like the live orchestra, and I think it's just going to be a fun night in general. And so I am actually just genuinely excited to attend and see what they're going to show off. And even if it is just Zelda and Death Stranding, that'll be enough for me. And that'll warrant, I think, my 7.8. But I do also think that there is a good chance of something else being shown here, whether it's like I said, like a Switch port or like some type of collection or something from Namco. I mean, even like Soul Calibur has been a pretty heavy rumor recently, like Soul Calibur 6.
Right.
And alongside that rumor was the rumor that that was coming to Switch. So that would be another kind of cool like Nintendo announcement. I could maybe see them doing something where like Namco reveals Soul Calibur 6 at the VGAs, I keep calling it that, the Game Awards. and then if they reveal it, maybe at the end of the trailer, they show a quick teaser of like Lucina in the game to sort of like appeal to that Fire Emblem audience, as opposed to just a full-on trailer for the next Fire Emblem game. So, yeah.
Wait, are you saying like a Fire Emblem character in Soul Calibur?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
That'd be cool, but I would suspect they'd put Link in there again before anything else.
Yeah, I mean, I would like either of them in there, but I think Lucina sort of fits, especially because of how big like Fire Emblem is now.
Yeah.
It just sort of kind of like fits alongside the Soul Calibur universe. I don't know.
That would be interesting. They go back to the Soul Calibur 2 route, have like console exclusive characters. That would be pretty big.
Yeah.
Now, real quick, one final question, since we know almost nothing about it. What are your expectations for the Champions Ballad? We know, like, literally almost nothing about this at all, besides the fact that it's story-based. Do you have a hope for it? What do you think? Like, are you expecting something big and epic, or just like a smaller scale story? How do you think it'll play?
I mean, I kind of feel like what we're going to get, this is my prediction,
okay,
is that we're going to get a memory location like that'll pop up on the map by the old destroyed Hyrule Castle Town. And I think when you access that memory location, it sort of takes you back in time to Hyrule Castle Town in its prime. And you get quests, which then you, like, complete in modern day. So, like, you'll get a quest in the past that will do something to sort of rebuild the Castle Town in modern day. That by the end of the story, you'll basically have Castle Town back to the way that it was.
Huh. That's interesting.
That's my guess, yeah.
I was with you.
It's a cool idea, but I don't see it being Castletown being rebuilt, because there's no way this takes place after the defeat of Ganon.
Oh, you don't think so? I think this does take place after the defeat of Ganon.
I think you're onto something there with the memory spots. Like, I could totally see it being you go to the memory spots, but instead of just watching a cutscene, you actually like relive those, or or you can see it through another character's eyes. I don't know how exactly they'll do it, but I do think it involves like using the current world, or it might involve using the current world with you having these new portals to like this new side content. But hey, maybe not. Maybe it'll be a whole new separate story with like an instanced version of the world that's slightly different than the one that's in Breath of the Wild. Like that. I mean, that's the exciting thing. Like, we know nothing about it. Like, even though I'm at a 6, I could definitely see the DLC like blowing me away, like really impressing me. So
yeah, the one thing we know is we're getting a new dungeon with it.
Oh, right. That's true.
So do you think that'll be a new Divine Beast then?
Probably be. I mean, my hope would be that it'd be a bit more involved than the Divine Beasts, or a little bit closer to the traditional dungeons. But I'd suspect it'd probably be closer to the Divine Beast.
I would love to see like a Temple of Time, maybe like back in the past, like you go through the Temple of Time as a dungeon.
That'd be interesting. Yeah. Maybe it could have its own whole underground network, I suppose, in order to making it seem bigger. There was also that. In Breath of the Wild, you came across like the blueprints, I think, for like another Divine Beast or something, being like a mole or whatever, if I recall.
I like that.
It could be underground.
That would be a good explanation for why you never see it.
Great Plateau is quite high up, so
yeah.
if you go underneath the Temple of Time, there's plenty of room underneath there.
There we go. We combine all our ideas.
There you go. Yeah, a giant mole divine beast hidden under the Temple of Time. Perfect. There you go. Fund it, Nintendo.
I like it. Perfect. All right, I think we're about done here. Roger, where can people find you at?
Sure, you can find me at RogersBase on YouTube, on Twitter, on Twitch, and on Instagram. I do Nintendo videos and anime videos, and I just uploaded a video of myself eating the new Super Mario cereal, so go check that out. And I'll be at the Game Awards, so look for me in the audience.
And you can find links to all that in the description below, even of Roger eating the cereal without any milk, like the monster he is.
He's going SpongeBob tough on us.
That's right, that's right.
And of course, stay tuned to GameXplain for lots more from the Game Awards very soon, and everything else Nintendo as well. Catch you guys later. Bye.
Bye-bye.